Hello everyone, welcome to Veranda IAS. Now students, in today's session, we are going to discuss about the gods, the various practices, the deities that were worshipped during the Indus Valley civilization or during the Vedic age. What was the culture that was being formed? What were the ideas that prevailed? How and what were the reasons why the new religions came into existence? Why people were not satisfied with the practices that actually were being quite prevalent at that point of time. Now, today's learning objective, like I said, will be with reference to the deities during the Indus Valley civilization, Vedic religions, the Shramana Tradition, Buddhism, the temples that were made by the Guptas, Bhakti Movement and the Sufi Movement. So, various evidences have been seen with reference to the deities, or you can say the gods that were worshipped during the Indus Valley civilization. The most prominent, the Indus deity. In fact, we have found such evidences were of the Pashupati Shiva. Now, when I'm giving the reference of Pashupati Shiva, so we are actually talking about Hindu god Bhagwan Shiv, whose one form is also known as the Pashupati Nath, right? Now, there were various other gods like Mother Goddess, also the trees, they were being worshipped, the nature was being worshipped. Now, it can be said that the Indus society, though we don't have any prominent evidence regarding that, but yes, what we can say about the Indus society is that the society at that point of time was actually secular. Now, using the word secular here will not be correct. Why? Because at that time, there was only one religion. So, either what you can say is, either you are a believer or you are a non-believer. So, even if you are a non-believer, the society had no problem, because the terminology of secular will not be appropriate to be used here, right? Now, let's reference to the Vedic religion. Now, with Vedic practices, there were various ideas of worshipping the nature and animal sacrifices were made. Okay, the important gods during the early Vedic age was Indra, Agni, Varuna. See, when I'm referring the name Indra, a very common name in Hindus is Suresh. Okay, so Suresh means, it actually means that gods, or you can say the lord of the gods. So this reference was with to Indra. At that point of time, it wasn't Shiv, it wasn't Vishnu, it wasn't Brahma, but who was actually worshipped? It was Indra, along with Agni, along with Varuna. Okay. Now, the other important gods that actually became very important or prominent during the later Vedic stages were Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, okay, along with Prajapati. Now, the idea of Prajapati, it can be seen with reference to, if you have read some books on Shiva, or if you have seen some serials on Shiva, so there you can see the reference of Daksha Prajapati comes. Okay, Daksha Prajapati comes. Also, the idea of Shakti is quite prominent at that point of time. Now, according to the details that we have with reference to the whatever we have found, the gods like Indra, Agni, Surya. Now, with reference to Indra, the most important thing was, he was you can say a fighter god. He had a weapon which was known as a Vajra. Okay. Now, with reference to Agni, Agni is very important. You must have seen many havan, many practices they take place during various occasions. In fact, during when a marriage is happening. So, the bride and the groom, they have to take several vows, and they are actually revolving around that Agni which is present. So, Agni has a very key form even today with respect to all the rituals. Now, with reference to sun, Surya Namaskar is a very important practice. Also, donating jal in the morning or during the sunrise is a very common practice which is found even today in many Indian houses. After the Vedic region, or you can say after the Vedic time happened, there were people who were not supportive of the practices that were being followed during the Vedic religion. Now, people were of this opinion that these practices are not good. See, the most important reason of all the situation was, it was during the Vedic time when the Varna system, the Varna, or you can say the class division system, it arrived. The idea of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudras, it arrived. So it was during the Vedic time and people were against these practices. So there were many people who actually stood against the idea of Vedic religion. So all those people who were against the practices that were being followed in Vedic religion, they were called as the Shramana. The important Shramana were Buddhist, the Jainist, the Ajivikas, etc. Okay. Now, with reference to Buddhism, there are primarily three important forms, or you can say three different sections. With reference to Buddhism, we know that it was a religion that was started by Gautam Buddha. Okay. There was another religion, Jainism, where the practice of gurus, or you can say later on it was called as the Tirthankar, this practice came. Okay, we'll be discussing about all these things in detail when the main classes they start, right? So if we speak with reference to Buddhism, there are prominently three types. The number one is Hinayan, the other is Mahayana, and the third one is the Vajrayana Buddhism. According to the Hinayan Buddhism, they follow the original gospels of Buddha, like whatever Buddha said, they actually believe it and they actually try to follow it. Mahayana were those people who worship Buddha. According to all those that belong to the Mahayana sect, they worship Buddha as a god. Whereas the Vajrayana, they actually came up with some other random occult practices and they included it with the idea of Buddhism. Okay, so these are the three important sections that you can find in Buddhism, right? Next, with reference to the Gupta Temple. Now, Guptas, the Gupta rulers, it was during the time of Guptas when the Vaishnavites, or you can say Vaishnavism, it actually emerged. Because before that, prominently it was the Shaivites, or people used to worship Shiv. But during the Guptas, the idea of Vaishnavism, or you can say Vishnu as a deity, was started being worshipped. Many temples were being framed. Okay, complete rejection to animal sacrifice. That means no need to go for sacrificing an animal. It was said that it is a crime. Just in order to fulfill your needs or fulfill your desire, you cannot kill a life. This was that permanent idea. After this, there were many issues with reference to Hindu religion. Many malpractices got started. The people were actually not allowed. The caste system got so much into the society that the Brahmins, they actually started controlling the entire society. So the Hinduism at that point of time, it actually became a profit-making, or you can say a money-making enterprise. And there was a degradation, and people, they actually started leaving, or you can say started following the Hindu practices. Primarily, these people were those that belonged to the Shudra Varna. They had their own original reasons. So in order to bring Hinduism to its pinnacle once again, a movement got started, and prominent role was actually played by Adi Shankaracharya. Okay? He became the famous guru and started a Bhakti movement. The actual idea, the original idea of Bhakti movement was that we have to love the God. Okay, it's not about that you have to chant all the shlokas, you have to recite all the mantras. No, the complete idea is we have to give ourselves to God. We have to follow the policies, we have to follow the principles laid down. Okay, we have to love the God. This was the idea. Now, according to this, there were several traditions that actually came, the Nirgun and the Sagun. The Nirgun Brahmanas and the Sagun Brahmanas, the idea was very clear. The basic difference between Nirgun, that means no shape. Sagun, that means someone with shape. So all those who followed the Saguna idea, according to them, the God has some form, the God has some shape. Whereas according to the Nirgunas, the God is formless. Okay, there is no form, right? Now you can see here Adi Shankaracharya. Okay. Later on, when Muslims, or you can say the Muslim empires, were established in India, Islam also came into existence in India. And with reference to the various malpractices that were followed, there was a consensus among many Muslims, and they started Sufi movement. Now there were different classes. There were classes of Chishti, there were classes of Suhrawardi. Okay, people followed a different sect at that point of time, right? So its founder was Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti. Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti is the same the famous Dargah at Ajmer, okay, Ajmer Sharif, that is Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti, right? So the ideas, like I have told you, that different schools got started, different schools of Sufism. They were under Chishti, they were following the ideas, they were following the principles of Suhrawardi, okay? Again, the important agenda, or you can see the objective of this entire Sufi movement was to bring the right picture, was to leave all the malpractices that were involved and actually present the real religion to the people, through which people can actually learn to love each other. This was the basic primary idea. Okay, so students, this was with today's session. Thank you very much.